Hi everyone, my name is Mary and welcome back to Quinn Ink. Today we are going to sew together all 4 sections, okay? So make sure you have all your sections that you crochet together right here, and make sure you have a needle with a large eye hole, your thread that you're going to be sewing with, and a pair of scissors. Okay, and when we do this, make sure you have a long thread so that way you can get your sewing started. The first one we are going to be starting with is going to be 1.1 and 1.2, so make sure you have those 2 sections ready. I am just going to quickly put my needle onto my thread and then we will get started. Okay, there we go. Okay, so when we get started, I have all the paper sections here. So this is 1.1. Okay, so make sure you have this one, and this is 1.2. So make sure you have this one as well. And I have 1.1 right here. So this is what it looks like. And then I also have 1.2. So remember, when you do 1.2, the section is going to be to the left, and then when you do 1.3, it'll be to the right. So this is reversible, so either one's fine as long as you made 2 of these. Okay, so let me get everything going and we'll get this started. Alrighty, so I'm back. So when you have your 2 sections, make sure you have your yellow section for 1.1, and then for 1.2, make sure the yellow section is also facing this yellow section. If you're wondering what this is the bottom piece of the Batman wing, not wing, the Batman middle section, so it looks like the bat part. So this is his bottom section right here. So you're going to pinch at the top, turn your work, and pinch at the bottom right here. And if you like, you can also get some pins so you can pin your work so it doesn't flare open. Alrighty, so when we get this started, you're going to go to the top, and right here you're going to find your stitches, and you're going to find the last stitch on 1.1 and the last stitch on 1.2. Put your needle through, pull on your thread until you kind of have like a loop right here, and then put your needle through that loop and you're going to pull. That way it will secure it. Okay, and then you're just going to start sewing into the side just like this, going in and out. Sorry about that. My thread went a little wonky on me real quick. There we go. Okay, there we go. And so you'll just sew into the side like this, going into each stitch as you can find. If you have a sharp needle, you won't have to really try and find stitches to go into. It'll just automatically go into any stitch that you have. Try not to make too wide of a gap. This one should be fine. You can make a little bit tinier gaps, something like this. What I mean is something like that. So that way as you go down, it doesn't look like you had to go stretch over too far. Okay, so I will meet you down here at the very end. If you need to, pin these sections so that way they are flush with each other like this instead of like this. Okay, and then I will meet you back in just a few moments. Alrighty, so I made it down to the bottom here, as you can see. And so now what you're going to do is you're going to flip your work towards you to where you're seeing these stitches, and you're going to go actually give me 1 second. I'm going to do one more. Okay, Now you're going to grab your very last stitch and your very last stitch on the bottom. Put your needle right through that. Okay, and then you're going to go right back through those two last stitches. And this is where we're going to close it off. So I put my fingers right through there to make that loop. I put my needle right through here. I pull my fingers out and put it in through the new loop that I just made. I'm going to pull up on this finger and down with these ones holding the needle. And then I'm going to put my needle right through that last loop. Then pull my finger out and you're going to hear, sometimes it'll click. You'll hear like a little bit of a click. That pretty much means that you got your knot. If not, you can always do it again. Sometimes if I don't hear that click, I do it one more time. So I'm going to make that one more time. So I'm going to put my needle right through, make that loop, put my needle through that loop, put my fingers through the new loop that I just made right here, pull up, pull down, put my needle right through this loop, pull my finger out, and then you'll hear a little click. That click means that you actually got the knot. Then I just put it right through one more time. Grab my scissors as close to the yarn as I can and snip. Okay, so that is 1.1 on the left. This is 1.2 on the right. And as you can see, it's starting to form a picture. The next one you are going to want to grab is going to be 1.3. That's this one right here. And that one will connect to 1.2 just like this. As you can see, it's starting to form the bottom of the bat. Okay, and then soon we'll go up higher and we'll start forming the body of the bat, which will be right here. And then we'll start forming like his little arms that will connect to the wings. Okay, so I'm going to re-thread my needle and then we'll get started on this one. Alrighty, so I'm back and I threaded my needle. So let's get this started real quick. So you're going to pinch at the top like we normally do. Turn your work and then go ahead and pinch at the very bottom. Okay? And at this point, what I would suggest doing is grabbing your pins. So I'm going to grab a little white one right here. And right here, I'm going to pin this so that way it stays together as I'm sewing from the top to here. And that tells me this is, hold on, this is where the connection is. So this is where I need to sew. And then I'm also going to pin these two areas as well. So I'll pin right here where the yellow is. So that's one connection, and then I'll pin right here. And we'll do another white one. Okay. And there we go. That way they're nice and connected, so as I'm sewing it will stay nice and flush. And again, we're going to excuse me, look on the very top here and find the last stitch. I'm trying to find it real quick. I think it's this one right here, and then it's going to be this one right here. I'm going to put our needle on there, pull our thread right through it until it makes a loop like this. I'm going to put my needle right through sorry, right through that loop, pull nice and tight, pull up on this to keep it straight, and then tighten it. And then I am just going to start the sewing process. Now as you can see, my finger is right in the middle, so that way it lets me know that when I pinch these together that I'm on the right track. Black yarn is very difficult when sewing because it's hard to see if you are on the right track or if it's pretty much one's up, one's down, and so you're just sewing in and out onto one of them, but you're not actually sewing it together. So the best thing to do is put your finger in between like this, okay, and then you pull them apart Then with your other finger, you can start pinching them together like this. Pull your fingers out, and then these fingers can hold that while you're sewing. So you know that you are actually sewing the two pieces together instead of sewing one piece together. Alrighty, so I am going to sew this all the way down to the bottom, and I will meet you down in the blue section, and then we will finish off sewing 1.2 and 1.3 together, and then we will sew 1.3 and 1.4 together. Okay, and then we should be done. Alrighty, I'll see you shortly. Alrighty, so I made it closer to the bottom and I noticed something on our work. So you see these pieces right here that are kind of like sticking out of your work. Now I already sewed it, as you can see right there. Another thing you can do to keep those down, these things right here, is put your thread over it and then re-sew it again. That'll keep those down, so that way they don't stick out. And I noticed that a lot of stuff like that in this blanket has been like that. So I just re-sew over it like this, and that way it keeps those stitches nice and flat and keeps them from sticking out. Okay, so that is another nice pro tip for you. The other thing is go slowly when you're doing this. Your thread will tend to tangle a lot, and so you want to go nice and slowly when you're doing it, so that way it doesn't tangle, or you get stuff like this. So you want to make sure to find the right piece and to pull on it slowly. If you're new to sewing, I do suggest going slowly when sewing. It may take you a little bit of time, but once it's done, it'll be very good, because that way at least you did it right and you don't have a lot of problems or holes in your work. As you can see, mine don't have very many holes in them. So this is kind of how you want your work to be, is holeless. Yes, you have your double crochets that have holes in them, but I'm talking something like that. As you can see, this is where I sewed it, but you don't see the holes in it. So the slower you go and the less you space it out. So you space it out pretty short or small, something like this, not too far. Like if it was from here all the way to here, that would leave you a big nice gap. You don't want something like that in your work. Alrighty, so we are down here at the very end, and when it flaps open like this, the best thing I would suggest is, hold on, let me move my light. The best thing I would suggest is just keep sewing until you get down to the bottom. So that way you don't have too wide of a gap. And then that's why we also turn our work and we sew into the two very last stitches on the end here. So that way we can close that gap off and you don't have that in your blanket. So we're going to sew through those two stitches and back up through those stitches. I'm going to put my finger right on top of those stitches to form that loop that I always talk about. Then I'm going to put my needle right through that loop, and as I pull, I'm going to open the loop, pull out my fingers, hold the last loop with my two fingers as I form a new loop. Something like that. There we go. And then I'm going to pull up with this finger and down with the fingers that I have my needle in while my finger comes down, so it's not too tight. And then I'm going to put my needle right through there, pull my finger out, and I'm going to slowly start pulling. So that way I can get that nice tight knot right here. As you can see right there is a little knot. So it's nice and tight. If I can zoom in for you, see, there it is, little tiny knot. Okay, so that's something you're always looking for, is making sure that knot is there. And then I always go back through my work. That's just how I am. And then I grab my scissors and I cut it off close to the thread without cutting the thread, as you can see right there. Oop. Okay, and I'm going to use this so that way we can sew together 1.4 and we can finish off with the sewing process, because this one's pretty long enough. So this is what your work is going to start looking like. Okay, and then you'll have on this side over here a full entire yellow section. And then yes, I'm going to cut off these little bunny ears because I don't like them. There we go. Alrighty, so let's grab 1.4 and let's get started. Alrighty, I am back and I have grabbed 1.4, and as you can see, this is 1.4 with the blue and the black sections. Okay, so, and don't forget your needle. So let's go ahead and pinch the two top pieces down here, turn our work. I'm going to put that up there, and we're also going to pinch the bottom down here and kind of flip it up. And before we start, I am going to pin these sections right here. That way it keeps my work straight as I sew this piece together. And you can also sew this whole yellow section as well if you so please, if you're having problems keeping your work straight. I'm not gonna pin it because I feel this was perfect, because this just keeps it straight for me right down here as I'm sewing. You can also pin each section if you'd like, if it helps. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to turn our work and look for the last two stitches like we did before. So here's one stitch, and if I turn this, here's the other stitch. We're going to put our needle right through both of those stitches and pull, and we are looking for that loop, as you can see. So I'm going to put my needle right through that loop and I'm going to pull. Make sure it's nice and straight. There we go. And then we're just going to start the sewing process all over again. And one thing I probably mention in every video but forgot to mention in this one is, while you're sewing in the black section, try and grab a bright desk lamp as you are sewing so you can actually see where you are sewing into, and you can actually see your stitches right here, knowing if they are too far apart or if they are close together. That is another pro tip I have for you. I have two desk lamps. They work great when I'm sewing any type of project, or if I'm crocheting something I cannot see with normal light. A lot of times when you are crocheting with black yarn, dark purple, dark blue, dark green, or any dark colors, a bright light is great, so that way you can see your stitches, you can see where you are crocheting into. Alrighty, so I am going to sew all the way down to the bottom here. When I meet you down here, I will come back. Alrighty, so we made it down to the bottom, and I just have one more stitch I'm going to sew into. Turn your work until you're looking at the bottom of these stitches, and what we're going to do is we're going to put it into this last stitch and this last stitch right here, as you can see. Okay, and then I'm just going to put my needle right through. I'm going to go back into those two stitches as I'm pinching with my fingers. We're going to make a loop. I'm going to go right back through that loop, I'm going to make a new loop, put my finger through that new loop, pull up and pull down, put my needle right through that loop, and pull nice and tight. And then I'm going to put my needle back through, and then I'm going to cut my stuff. Close to the yarn as you can. If you can't, then that's okay, you can do it later. Alrighty, so this is what section 1 looks like, and I will pull my camera out and show you. So there is 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4, and that's lunch over there. Alrighty, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed sewing this with me together. If you have made it this far into the video, please do not forget to hit that like button so I know that you are enjoying this video. And if you would like to see more videos like this, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And also turn on your notifications so you always get my videos to your sub box. Alrighty, well, I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye-bye.